I remember the exact sound of the school voicemail that changed everything. That soft, polite tone telling me my daughter had gotten into an incident. That word, incident, still echoes in my head like a bruise that never fades. I was in my cafe, mid-shift, when it played. I didn't even wait to close the register. I threw my apron off and ran through the rain, half soaked by the time I reached the car. It wasn't even about fear yet. It was instinct, raw and cold. When you're a single mom, you don't think. You move. By the time I reached the school, she was sitting outside the principal's office, knees pulled up, backpack at her feet, eyes too big and too still. She wasn't crying. That scared me more than anything. "Sweetheart," I whispered, crouching beside her. "What happened?" She looked up, voice small. "It wasn't my fault, Mom. I just told him to stop." Then the door opened, and he stepped out, a man, tall, dark suit, no tie, calm in a way that made the air tighten. The kind of calm you only see in people who've seen too much. His eyes moved straight to me, steady, assessing, deliberate. I felt it in my stomach. He said, "You must be her mother." Not a question. A statement, yes. My voice caught, and I hated that it did. "Who are you?" He looked down at his son, a boy about my daughter's age, maybe 10, then back up. "I'm Luca's father." He paused, almost as if tasting the words. "I wanted to meet the woman raising the girl who hit my son." "She didn't hit him," I snapped. He didn't flinch. "Then perhaps you'll explain why he has a bruise." The principal intervened, words like neutral smoke between two fires. Something about a playground argument, a misunderstanding, both kids defending someone smaller, but none of that mattered. What mattered was the silence between me and him. Even then I knew. This wasn't about the kids. Not anymore. When I took my daughter home that day, I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd been seen. Not in the way you see a stranger, but the way someone marks a file in their mind, keeps it. 2 days later, he showed up at my cafe. He didn't say hello. Just ordered black coffee. Stood at the counter, eyes quiet, fixed on me. "You didn't have to come," I said, voice sharp. He smirked, barely. "I didn't, but I wanted to." The air around him bent. Customers hushed without knowing why. Even the espresso machine seemed to breathe slower. I tried to act unfazed. "If this is about the kids, it's settled." Not quite. He took a sip, watching me over the rim. "My son likes your daughter. He doesn't like anyone. And that's my problem because I need to know who she's learning kindness from." He leaned in slightly. "And who's teaching her to throw punches?" That made me laugh, bitter and nervous. "You think I'm raising some kind of threat?" "No," his tone dropped, low, deliberate. "I think you're raising someone brave." Which is rarer. Something in my chest cracked open. Tiny, reluctant. I hadn't heard words like that in years. When he left, he didn't ask my name, but he already knew it. That night, I couldn't sleep. I told myself it was anger. It wasn't. It was the quiet thrill of being noticed by someone I should have run from. Days passed. He started showing up again. Sometimes for coffee, sometimes just to stand outside, pretending to take calls. My coworkers whispered. I ignored them. I told myself he was just another rich man with control issues. But there was something else. Something gentler in the way he watched my daughter laugh from afar when he came by during pickup. Then one night, my phone buzzed. "Unknown number. Don't go home." That was it. 3 words. I froze, staring at the message. Then came the second one. "It's not safe." Before I could reply, tires screeched outside. Gunshots. Windows cracked. My daughter screamed from her room. I grabbed her, heart punching my ribs, ran to the back door. Outside, the alley smelled of rain and metal. I saw a car, a black one, waiting, headlights off. The passenger door opened. He was inside. "Get in," he ordered. I hesitated. My daughter clung to me. Now, I got in. Because fear isn't rational, it's survival. He drove fast, silent, jaw locked. My daughter sobbed quietly beside me. I finally whispered, "Who the hell are you?" His answer was soft. "The reason you're still alive." And that was the first night I realized the man who terrified me might be the only one keeping us safe. I didn't understand the silence of that house until it began to feel like a living thing. It wasn't peace, it was watchful. Every sound had weight. Every door that closed seemed to seal me in tighter. He called it protection. I called it captivity. 3 days passed before I saw the outside again. My daughter Lily adjusted faster. Kids adapt. They don't overthink safety when it looks like comfort. There were gardens, tall windows, a cook who smiled too little. She watched cartoons while I paced, waiting for answers he refused to give. On the 4th morning, I found him in the kitchen. Coffee, immaculate suit, no tie. As if danger required style. I said, "You can't just keep us here." He didn't look up. "I can." I forced my voice steady. "Who are you really?" He took a long sip before answering. "The man who stopped a bullet meant for your window." My stomach dropped. "You think that scares me into gratitude?" "No." He turned, gaze quiet and surgical. "I think it reminds you that the world isn't what you thought." "Then explain it." He studied me, then sighed, like someone weary of lying. "My name is Matteo Rinaldi. People think of me as a businessman. People?" He hesitated. "The kind who don't use last names in conversation." It hit me like cold water. "Mafia." He didn't deny it. Just stared until I stopped pretending I wanted the truth. I whispered, "You're saying they came after us because of you." "I'm saying they came after me, and missed." I pressed my palms against the counter, shaking. "You dragged us into your war." He stepped closer, voice dropping to a murmur. "If I hadn't intervened, you'd be dead." Something in his tone made me stop. Not arrogance. Not threat, regret. I said, "I want to leave." He nodded slowly. "You can, but they'll find you before you reach the next city." That was the first time I believed him. Later that night, after Lily had gone to bed, I found him outside under the porch light, smoking. The air smelled like rain and gun oil. I asked, "Do you ever get tired of pretending you're calm?" He exhaled smoke through a small smile. "Do you ever get tired of pretending you're not scared?" I sat beside him. I don't know why. Maybe because honesty, even when cruel, felt cleaner than pity. He said, "You want to know why I care?" I didn't say that. "You don't have to. I can hear it in the way you say my name like it burns your mouth." "I never said your name." He looked at me, that slow, devastating calm again. "You just did." I looked away, cheeks hot, chest unsteady. He continued, "You remind me of someone I used to protect. Before I learned protection and destruction are the same job." "Who?" "My wife." I froze. "You're married?" "Was." His voice went quiet. "She and my son's mother, both gone. My enemies don't send flowers." The words landed heavy, unvarnished. He didn't flinch when he said them. That was the worst part. How grief could live inside a man so still. I whispered, "And now you think you can rewrite that story with me?" "No." He crushed the cigarette under his shoe. "I think maybe I can stop it from repeating." We didn't speak again for 2 days. But his presence filled every silence, his shadow crossing the hallway, the echo of his shoes on marble floors. The kind of man who carries gravity like perfume. Lily adored him. I tried not to notice. He'd kneel beside her drawings, ask about the colors, the shapes. He'd laugh softly at her stories, the kind of laugh that sounds like it's been locked away for years. She told me one night, "He makes me feel safe, Mom." I wanted to say, "He shouldn't," but I couldn't. Because part of me felt the same. Then came the night everything broke. He burst into my room close to midnight, breath sharp, eyes colder than I'd seen. "Get up," he ordered. "What's happening?" Now, I threw on a coat, heart hammering. Lily was already in his arms, half asleep, clinging to his neck. The hallway lights flickered. Outside dogs barked. Engines roared in the distance. "Matteo, don't talk," he said low. "Just move." He led us through a back passage I hadn't noticed before. Steel, concrete, the smell of fuel. A garage door lifted, revealing a black SUV. When we got inside, he spoke for the first time in miles. "They found the safe house. Someone inside betrayed me. How do they even know about me? Because they saw me choose you." He said it without looking at me, and the meaning hit like a blade. I wasn't just collateral, I was leverage, he continued. They'll assume you matter, and that makes you valuable. And my daughter? His knuckles tightened on the steering wheel. Untouchable, as long as I breathe. I hated him for the way those words both terrified and comforted me. We drove through the night, headlights slicing fog and silence. Lily slept in the back seat, hand curled around a stuffed rabbit. Around dawn, we stopped by a lake house miles from anywhere. He got out first, scanned the horizon, motioned us in. It was smaller than the mansion. More human. Faded curtains, wooden floors, a smell of old pine. When he locked the door, I said, "You're bleeding." He looked down, blood soaking through his shirt near the shoulder. "It's nothing." I grabbed a towel. "Sit down." He hesitated, then obeyed. I pressed the cloth to his wound. He hissed. "You're braver than you think." "Or dumber," I muttered. He laughed, quiet, genuine. It startled both of us. I said, "You're risking your life for people you barely know." He looked at me then, really looked. "You think I don't know you? You'd die for that little girl without blinking. You'd walk through hell if it meant she smiled again. I know exactly who you are." Something inside me cracked. The truth of it burned. I whispered, "And what about you? Who are you when no one's watching?" He didn't answer right away. Then softly, "A man who wanted out too late." I pressed the towel harder, felt his pulse under my hand. "Then get out now." He shook his head. "If I leave, they come after everyone I ever touched. You mean us." He didn't deny it. That night we didn't sleep. We sat across from each other at the kitchen table while the world outside stayed black and still. He said, "You shouldn't trust me." "I don't." "Then why are you still here?" "Because I don't trust anyone else either." He smiled faintly. Smart. Silence again, but different this time. Heavy with everything unsaid. Finally, he reached across the table, fingers brushing mine. It wasn't a move of dominance or seduction. It was surrender. A man who'd spent his life taking control, finally letting go. And I let him. The world shrank to the space between our hands. Then headlights flashed outside. Bright. Sudden, wrong. He was on his feet instantly. "Stay here. Matteo, stay." He moved to the window, gun drawn. I heard voices, shouted commands in a language I didn't recognize. Lily woke up crying. I ran to her, pulled her behind me. Gunfire shattered the glass. Screams, smoke, chaos. Matteo returned fire. I couldn't think, couldn't breathe. Just clung to Lily and prayed the walls would hold. Then silence. When I looked up, he was gone. Door wide open, smoke drifting through. Outside, the night was empty. Only his gun lay on the porch, still warm. Hours later, I found the note on the counter, stained with blood. "Don't look for me. Tell her I kept my word." I read it once, then twice, then tore it in half because I refused to believe it. But when the news came that morning, about the shootout downtown, the arrest of Matteo Rinaldi, the fall of the Rinaldi family empire, I knew. He hadn't run. He'd surrendered. He'd traded his freedom for ours. That was the night the fear finally broke, and grief took its place. I told Lily we were safe now. She believed me. I wanted to. But in the quiet, I still felt him. The ghost of his voice, the weight of his hand, the echo of a promise I never asked for, and the unbearable truth that I'd fallen in love with the man who destroyed his own world just to keep mine intact. 6 months. That's how long silence has been my only answer. 6 months since the night Matteo disappeared into the smoke and I stopped believing that closure meant peace. Lily and I live in a small coastal town now. The kind of place where people wave when you drive by and never ask why you came. I like it that way. I rent a small apartment above a bakery. Mornings smell like sugar and salt water. Evenings, like coffee grounds and loneliness. I tell people I'm a widow. It's easier than explaining the truth, that the man who saved my life was the same man who ruined his own to do it. Lily's thriving. She laughs again, louder than I remember. She draws the ocean every day, Says it reminds her of the sound of Mateo's car when it drove through the rain. I don't correct her. Children have their own ways of forgiving the world. But me, I still hear echoes. I still wake up expecting the low hum of his voice outside my door, the faint smell of smoke on his jacket, the calm that terrified me because I'd never known what peace and danger felt like until him. The news says he's alive, serving time, organized crime syndicate dismantled. That's how they phrase it. They don't mention how many lives were saved when he walked into that police station and handed over everything. They don't mention me or Lily. They don't mention how he kept his promise. For the longest time, I didn't write to him. I told myself he wouldn't want the reminder, that he needed distance to survive. But truthfully, I was afraid that if I saw his words, I'd start waiting for him again. And then one day, an envelope came. No return address, just my name, written in handwriting I could never mistake. Inside, I'm alive. She's safe. That's all that matters. Don't come here. Don't visit. The less they know, the longer I breathe. Tell her I'm proud of her. And tell yourself you did nothing wrong. He didn't sign it. He didn't have to. I read it once. Then I read it again until the paper softened under my fingers. And for the first time I cried. Not out of fear, but release. Months passed. I kept the cafe going, kept Lily in school, kept pretending the ordinary could erase the extraordinary. But it doesn't. Not when you've seen what love looks like under fire. Sometimes at night I sit by the ocean. The tide comes in heavy, violent. I imagine he's somewhere hearing the same water crash against another shore. It's easier to love him like that. From a distance the world can't ruin. Then came the night everything shifted again. Lily came home from school holding something. A small folded note, slipped into her backpack by a boy named Luca. The same Luca. The one she'd defended that day on the playground. She said, "He moved back to town, Mom. He wants to see me." My breath caught. "Luca Rinaldi?" She nodded. He said his dad might be coming home soon. The world tilted. I hadn't said Mateo's name aloud in over a year. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat in the dark, the note burning a hole in my pocket. I knew what it meant. Parole. Release. The life I'd buried clawing its way back to the surface. And I was terrified. Not of him, but of who I'd become without him. 2 weeks later, he walked into my cafe. He didn't look like a myth anymore. The suit was gone. The hair was shorter, streaked with gray. He looked smaller. Quieter. Like someone who'd spent too long trying to make himself disappear. He stood at the counter, waiting until I looked up. "Hi," he said softly. My throat closed. "You shouldn't be here." I know. Silence stretched between us, heavy and merciless. The air carried every unsaid word from the years in between. I finally managed. "You look human?" he offered, half a smile. "Different," he nodded. "Good. That was the point." I tried to steady my hands as I poured coffee. He watched, quiet, the way he always used to. Then I saw her, from a distance. "She's taller." "Don't," my voice cracked. "Don't make this harder than it already is." He leaned on the counter, eyes steady. "I didn't come to make it harder. I came to say thank you. For what? For surviving me." Something inside me broke again. Cleanly, quietly. Because that's what love does when it's real. It doesn't demand to be fixed. It asks to be understood. We sat down after closing. The world outside dimmed to shadows. He said, "When I was inside, I kept thinking about that night. The gunfire, your face when I told you to run. I thought if I lived long enough, I'd come back to tell you I was sorry." "For what? Saving us? For making you pay for it." "You didn't make me pay." "Yes, I did." He looked at his hands. "You stopped trusting people because of me. You still flinch at loud sounds. You still check the windows twice. That's on me." I swallowed hard. "And yet I'm alive." "So is she." He nodded slowly. "Then I did one thing right. Silence. Then I said what had been buried in my chest for years. I loved you, Mateo." He looked at me. No mask, no calm, no armor. Just a man stripped to bone. "I know," he whispered. "That's why I left." I shook my head. "You don't get to rewrite that. You left because you thought love made you weak." He smiled faintly. and you're here proving it made you strong. That was the moment I realized our story wasn't about rescue. It was about return. Not to him, but to myself. He reached across the table, same way he had that night before the bullets. His fingers brushed mine. The contact was electric and brief, but it was enough. He said, "I'm leaving tomorrow. Witness relocation. New country. I can't tell you where." My heart clenched. Then why come back at all? He took a slow breath. "Because I needed to see you alive before I disappear for good." Tears blurred the edges of everything. "You always disappear." He smiled, soft, almost peaceful. "Someone has to make room for you to live." I wanted to ask him to stay. I didn't. Because love, the real kind, isn't possession. It's release. The next morning, he was gone. Again. No note this time. Just a photograph left under the cafe door. Me and Lily on the beach, unaware. His shadow faintly visible in the distance. Weeks passed. The world went on pretending men like him never existed, but I know better. Sometimes Lily asks, "Do you think he'll ever come back?" And I tell her the truth. He already did. Because what he left behind wasn't absence. It was proof. Proof that redemption is possible, that ruin doesn't always mean the end, and that even in the darkest corners, love can rewrite its own name. Now, when I close the cafe at night, I don't look over my shoulder anymore. I just lock the door, turn off the lights, and listen to the sea outside. I think about the girl I used to be, the one who thought love was supposed to be safe. The one who didn't know safety and love don't always share a home, and I think about him. Matteo Rinaldi, the man my daughter's friendship accidentally led me to, the man who taught me that sometimes the wrong people show up at exactly the right time. I still carry him. Not as a wound anymore, but as a scar. Smooth, healed, part of me. Because some stories don't end, they just stop bleeding, and somehow, after everything, we found our way home. The night smells like rain and iron. I taste both on my tongue as I sprint down the cracked pavement, clutching the envelope that's supposed to save me. My shoes slap the ground, heartbeat stuttering in my ears. Behind me, footsteps, heavy, confident male. "Stop running." "Sweetheart." The voice slithers through the dark. Calm. Mocking. Close. I turn the corner behind O'Malley's bar, chest burning, and crash into a wall that isn't a wall. A body. Solid muscle, heat, and the scent of gunpowder. My palms hit his chest, and my breath lodges in my throat. He doesn't move. "Easy," he says, low and smooth, like danger wrapped in velvet. When I look up, the streetlight catches his face. Dark hair slicked back, jaw dusted in stubble, eyes too sharp to be human. His black coat is lined with rain. A gun holster gleams against his ribs. Who are you?" His gaze drops to the torn envelope in my hands. "That depends. Are you Lila Mercer?" The way he says my name, precise, lethal, makes my stomach drop. I step back, but his hand shoots out, catching my wrist. Not hard enough to bruise, but hard enough to remind me who's in control. "I don't know what you think." He tilts his head, and suddenly 3 men round the corner behind me, dressed in black, guns visible. "I think," he says quietly, "you're holding something that belongs to me." The envelope. My father's debt notice. $10,000 owed to someone named D. Valenti. My throat goes dry. "You're Dominic Valenti." He doesn't deny it. The name is enough to freeze me in place. Valenti, owner of half the city, both above and below ground. The kind of man mothers warn their daughters about. He looks down at the envelope again. "Your father had bad habits. Unfortunately, those debts don't vanish just because he's in the ground." My voice cracks. "I didn't even know until last week. I'm trying to pay it back." "With what? Waitressing tips?" He steps closer. The rain runs down his cheekbone, cutting through the scar that slices across it. "You owe me 80 grand, sweetheart. Interest compounds when you disappear for 6 months. I stumble back until my spine hits the wet brick wall. "I can't. You will." The words aren't shouted, but they slam into me harder than a gunshot. Behind him, one of his men mutters something in Italian. Dominic's jaw flexes, and the next moment he's holding his gun. Not aimed at me, at the man who spoke. "Not here." he growls, then lowers it. The power shift is immediate. Everyone obeys him without question. Even the air seems to. He turns back to me. Get in the car. No. A muscle jumps in his cheek. You're not safe here. Safe from who? You? He exhales through his nose, slow and controlled. Safe from the men your father owed before me. The ones who don't care about keeping you alive. A flash of movement, tires screeching at the end of the street. 2 cars slide into view. Black windows, tinted headlights. Dominic curses under his breath. Too late. Gunfire erupts. The sound splits the night apart. Glass shatters. Someone shouts. I drop to the ground instinctively, arms over my head. Dominic's body slams into mine, shielding me. The smell of gunpowder fills the air. His coat flares. His arm braced above me as bullets slice the brick inches away. Stay down, he roars. I can feel his heartbeat against my back, steady, unflinching. He moves like he's done this 1,000 times. When the gunfire stops, he yanks me up and drags me toward a black SUV parked half in shadow. Wait, my bag. He doesn't slow. You won't need it. I stumble into the passenger seat, heart hammering. The door slams, and before I can breathe, the car jerks forward. Tires screech, engines roar behind us. Dominic drives like a man who owns the city, cutting alleys and red lights, every turn precise. What just happened? I gasp. He doesn't look at me. Someone else wanted what your father owed. They found you before I did. Who? Doesn't matter. His jaw tightens. You're under my protection now. I laugh, hollow. Protection? You're the reason I'm in danger. His eyes flick toward me, cold and sharp. No, I'm the reason you're still breathing. The way he says it, controlled fury, a truth I can't deny, makes my pulse stutter. We drive for what feels like hours before the city lights fade. He stops outside a gated mansion perched on the hill. Modern glass, steel, and stone. A fortress disguised as a home. Inside, the air smells of leather and smoke. The walls gleam with art that probably costs more than my apartment building. 2 guards nod as we pass. Dominic leads me to a sleek living room overlooking the city. Sit. I stay standing. You can't just kidnap me. You'd be dead if I hadn't. I cross my arms. So what now? You keep me locked up until I magically find 80 grand? He leans against the counter, eyes dark. You can't pay it back with money. The words hit harder than the gunfire. What do you mean? His gaze doesn't waver. You'll work it off another way. My stomach twists. I'm not what? His voice drops lower. Not strong enough? Not desperate enough? I glare at him. I'm not your property. A flicker of something crosses his face. Admiration? Frustration? Maybe both. You're right. You're not. Yet. The word burns in the air. He steps closer and the scent of him, smoke, whiskey, danger, wraps around me. I should move. I don't. He studies me, eyes flicking over my bruised cheek, the trembling in my hands. You're a nurse, right? Mercy General? I blink. How do you know that? I know everything about you, Lila. He takes another step. You work double shifts. You live alone. You keep a picture of your father on your fridge, even though he ruined your life. My throat tightens. You had me followed. Protected. He corrects softly. You mean controlled. His hand lifts, almost touching my face, then drops. Believe what you want. But if I wanted control, you'd already be in my bed. Silence cracks between us, thick and electric. Why? I whisper. Why help me? He looks out the window instead of answering. Your father once saved a life that mattered to me. This is me repaying that debt. That's the first hint of vulnerability I see in him. It shouldn't make him human. It should make him more dangerous. But it does both. I sink onto the couch, suddenly exhausted. So what happens now? You stay here until it's safe. I can't just vanish. I have a job. He cuts me off. I already called the hospital. You're on leave. I stare at him. You what? Don't look at me like that, he says quietly. If you step outside right now, they'll find you before you make it to your car. I press my palms into my eyes, frustration burning. This isn't fair. He kneels in front of me, surprising me. The shift from predator to man is dizzying. Life isn't fair, Lila, but I'll keep you alive. You have my word. When he looks up, our faces are inches apart. His gaze drags over my mouth and the air thickens. For a second, neither of us moves. Then he stands. Guest room's down the hall. First door on the right. I should thank him. Instead, I mutter, "You think I'll sleep here after all that?" His mouth curves. Not a smile. Something darker. "You'll sleep because you're safe. And because you trust me. Even if you don't want to." He turns and walks away. His footsteps fade, leaving me alone in a room too quiet, too clean, too far from everything I know. But he's wrong. I don't trust him. I can't. Still, when thunder cracks outside and I catch his shadow pacing the hallway, something deep in my chest unclenches. I hate it. But I also can't look away. I wake to the smell of coffee and silence thick enough to choke on. For a moment, I don't remember where I am. The bed is too soft, the sheets too clean, and the faint hum of security cameras breaks the quiet. Then it hits me. The mansion. Dominic Valenti. My father's debt, my chest tightens. I push the blanket away and glance around the room. Vaulted ceilings, glass walls, no visible locks, but the kind of privacy that feels like captivity. There's a folded set of clothes on the dresser, my name written on a tag. He thought of that. I dress quickly and step into the hallway. The house feels like a museum, too cold, too precise. Everything polished to the point of sterility, except for the faint sound of piano coming from downstairs. He's in the main room, sitting behind a grand piano, sleeves rolled to his elbows, playing something slow and aching. It's jarring. This man who gave orders with a gun now coaxing tenderness from ivory keys. I lean against the doorway. Didn't think mafia bosses played piano. He doesn't look up. Didn't think nurses broke into bars at midnight. Touché. When the last note fades, he finally meets my gaze. His eyes are darker this morning, the kind of dark that pulls you in instead of pushing you away. "You hungry?" he asks. I cross my arms. "Depends. Is it poisoned?" His mouth twitches. "Not today. The kitchen smells like espresso and toast." He slides a plate toward me. I hesitate, but hunger wins. When I take a bite, his gaze follows the movement like he's studying every reaction. "You don't eat enough," he says. I roll my eyes. "You don't smile enough." That earns a low chuckle. Soft. Rare. For the first time, he looks almost human. But the illusion cracks when his phone buzzes. He answers in Italian, voice clipped, sharp. I don't understand the words, but I understand the tone. Threat. Control. Death wrapped in business casual. He ends the call and notices me watching. "Something wrong?" I ask. "Someone's been asking about you." A chill runs down my spine. "Who?" "Men who don't ask politely." He takes a sip of coffee like he's talking about the weather. "You're safe here," he adds. "But that doesn't mean they'll stop looking." I swallow hard. "Why do they want me?" "Because your father stole from more than one family. And because you're leverage." My stomach knots. "So I'm your hostage?" He sets the cup down. "No, you're under my protection." "There's a difference." I stand abruptly, pacing. "That's not protection. That's prison." He stands too, slower, deliberate. "Would you rather be dead?" The words slice between us. I want to say yes, to defy him, but I can't. Instead, I whisper, "I want to be free." He takes a step closer, voice lowering. "Freedom comes with a price. Everything does." The tension is suffocating. I can feel the heat of him, the weight of his stare. For one dangerous second, the world narrows to the space between us. Then he moves past me, breaking the spell. "I have a meeting." "Stay inside. Don't open the door for anyone but me." Hours crawl by. I pace, clean, scroll through the news on his marble countertop just to feel normal. Nothing helps. Every creak of the house feels like a trap. By afternoon, I find the library, a cathedral of dark wood and glass. On one shelf sits a photograph. Dominic, younger, with another man who looks like him, but softer. Both smiling. When he returns that night, his suit jacket is gone, shirt sleeves rolled again. His knuckles are bruised. What happened? I ask before I can stop myself. He glances down, almost amused. "Business." "That's blood." He shrugs. "Not mine. I should be horrified. I should run." But instead, I grab the first aid kit from the cabinet. Old habits. "Sit," he smirks. "Giving orders now?" "Sit or I'll sedate you." He actually obeys. I kneel, dabbing antiseptic across his hand. The silence between us hums. His skin is warm, his pulse steady. I can feel his gaze burning through me. "You don't have to do this," he murmurs. "I'm a nurse. It's what I do." His lips curve slightly. "You fix things." I don't answer. My hands tremble when I wrap the bandage. His voice drops lower. "You should be careful touching me like that." "Why?" "Because I might get used to it." My breath catches. The air thickens again. I pull back too fast, knocking the gauze roll off the counter. He catches it, but not before his fingers brush mine. The contact is brief, electric. "Tell me something, Lila." "What?" He leans in, his voice a whisper. "Are you afraid of me?" "Yes," I breathe. He nods once. "Good, you should be." But his eyes betray him. There's something else there. Something that looks too much like longing. That night, a storm traps us in. Power flickers. The house hums with silence again, but this time it feels charged. I find him in his office, staring at the city lights. "Generator's out," I say. "It's pitch black in half the rooms." He doesn't turn. "Then stay where there's light." I cross my arms. "Or you could stop brooding and help." He finally turns. "You're brave tonight." Maybe I'm just tired of being scared. He steps closer. "Then stop pretending you don't want to be here." My pulse skips. "You're imagining things." "Am I?" His hand lifts, tracing a strand of hair from my face. "Every time you look at me, I feel it. The pull. You can lie to yourself, but not to me." Lightning flashes. The air hums. For a moment, I think he'll kiss me. I want him to. Then the lights die completely. He exhales, steps back. "Stay here. Where are you going?" "To fix what's broken." But minutes later, shouting erupts outside. I run to the balcony and see movement near the gate. Men in black, flashes of light, gunfire. Dominic storms back inside, grabs a weapon from the cabinet. "They found us." "Who?" "The De Rossi family." His tone is pure steel. "Get in the panic room. Now." "No, I can help. You don't argue when bullets are flying." I freeze at the command in his voice. Something primal in it makes my body obey before my mind catches up. He leads me to a hidden room behind the bookshelf. The metal door slides shut, soundproof. He hands me his phone. "If I don't come back, don't say that. Call the number saved under R. He'll get you out." "Dominic." His hand brushes my cheek, rough and fleeting. "Stay alive for me." The door seals, leaving me in darkness. Minutes stretch like hours. The gunfire fades, replaced by silence so heavy it makes my skin crawl. I press my ear to the door. Nothing. Then a thud, another. Footsteps. "Dominic?" I whisper. The door clicks open. He's there, blood splattered on his sleeve, breathing hard but alive. "It's over," he says. I throw my arms around him before I can stop myself. He stiffens, then exhales, arms wrapping around me. His heart pounds against my ear, steady, real. I don't care that he's dangerous. I just care that he's here. After a moment, he pulls back, gaze unreadable. "You shouldn't have done that. Why?" "Because if you keep touching me like that, I won't let you go." He walks away before I can answer. Later, I find him on the balcony, rain soaking his shirt, gun still at his side. "You could have died," I whisper. "So could you." "Why are you doing this?" He turns, eyes raw under the lightning. "Because I know what it's like to lose everything." Something in his voice breaks. I realize I've never asked about his past. "My brother," he says quietly. "He was supposed to take over after my father. The De Rossis killed him instead. I made a promise on his grave that I'd never let anyone I cared about get hurt again. And I remind you of him?" His gaze darkens. "No, you remind me of what I buried with him." "What's that?" "Hope." The word is so fragile coming from his mouth that I forget to breathe. Then, without warning, he leans in. His forehead rests against mine. Not a kiss, something more dangerous. A confession without words. "I can't want you," he murmurs. "But I do." "Then stop pretending." He laughs once, hollow. "You don't know what you're asking for." Maybe I do. We're inches apart when a shout echoes from below, his men calling his name. The moment shatters. He steps back. mask sliding into place again. We leave tomorrow. They'll come again. I nod, though every part of me wants to stay frozen in that half second before duty pulled him away. As he walks back inside, I whisper into the rain. You already own me, Dominic Valenti. You just don't know it yet. The safe house isn't safe. I know it the moment we arrive. Too quiet, too clean, too far from the city's heartbeat. Dominic's men fan out, weapons drawn, their silence heavier than the night itself. He leads me to a narrow bedroom. One bed, unmade. His shirt clings to him from the rain, sleeves rolled, forearms slick and bruised. Stay here, he says. Where are you going? To make sure this place holds. He turns, but I grab his wrist. You promised me you'd stop walking into gunfire. His mouth curves, tired. I promised to aim first. It's supposed to be humor, but it lands like a confession. He leaves before I can say anything else. Hours pass. Rain pounds the roof. My nerves buzz like live wire. When he finally returns, his expression is carved from stone. They found us again, he says. We leave at dawn. Something inside me snaps. Then what, Dominic? Keep running until we run out of places? He exhales sharply. You don't understand this world. Then make me understand. Silence stretches. Then he speaks, voice low. You can't reason with men who trade in blood. My name protects you, but it also paints a target. Anyone who hurts me will go for what I care about most. My pulse stutters. And that's me now? His jaw tightens. Yes. He crosses the room, standing inches from me. You shouldn't be, but you are. I look up at him. At the man who's killed for survival and still plays piano at dawn like he's searching for something pure. Then stop fighting it. He moves before I can breathe, his hand cupping my jaw, thumb tracing my lower lip. The air thickens, heavy with all the words neither of us can say. You drive me insane, he murmurs. Every instinct I have tells me to stay away from you. Every other part of me wants you right here. Then take what you want. He freezes, eyes darkening. Careful, Lila. I don't do gentle. I don't want gentle. He exhales a sound that's half curse, half surrender. His lips brush mine, barely. Then his phone buzzes, slicing the moment apart. He steps back, voice switching to Italian, tone clipped and furious. When he hangs up, the softness is gone. What happened? Betrayal, he says. Someone inside my crew sold us out. My stomach drops. Who? Doesn't matter. They're coming tonight. He pulls a gun from the drawer, checks the chamber. I realize then, this isn't a scare tactic. This is war. The first gunshot hits the wall beside the window. Glass explodes inward. Dominic drags me down, pressing me to the floor as bullets tear through the room. His men shout, returning fire. Basement, he orders. Move! We crawl through the hall, my ears ringing. I taste blood, someone else's, maybe mine. The house groans under the assault. We reach the basement stairs. He shoves me behind a steel pillar, fires twice, then slams the door shut. Stay down. The smell of smoke floods the air. My pulse hammers. He reloads, movements precise, unshakable. A shadow moves behind him, one of his own men. Gun raised! Dominic! He turns as the shot goes off. The bullet grazes his shoulder instead of his heart. He drops the traitor with one brutal pull of the trigger. The man collapses without a sound. Dominic's breathing hard, blood seeping through his shirt. I grab his arm. You're hit. Doesn't matter. Like hell it doesn't. I drag him behind a concrete wall and rip his shirt open, pressing fabric against the wound. You'll bleed out if he catches my wrist. Lila, listen to me. Don't you dare say goodbye. His gaze locks on mine, intense, wild, desperate. If I don't make it, no, you run. You don't look back. Shut up, Dominic. He almost smiles at the ferocity in my voice. There's that fire again. Stay with me. He leans his forehead against mine, breathing ragged. I'm not letting them touch you. Ever. The next explosion rattles the floor. Smoke thickens. He pulls me up, ignoring the blood. We're ending this now. Outside, chaos reigns. His men fight near the gate, shadows against flashes of muzzle light. The De Rossi car convoy burns halfway down the hill. Dominic moves like a predator unleashed, precise, merciless. The man who once played piano with aching restraint now fires without hesitation. I follow, keeping low. A gunshot slices the air. Dominic's shoulder jerks, but he keeps moving. I grab a dropped weapon, adrenaline overriding fear. One of the attackers rushes him from behind. I don't think, just aim and pull the trigger. The man drops. Dominic spins, shock flashing across his face. Then pride. Good girl. Keep fighting, I say, voice shaking. I'm not losing you. Together we push forward until silence replaces gunfire. The night reeks of smoke and rain, bodies on the ground. His men check the perimeter. Dominic turns to me, chest heaving, eyes unreadable. You saved my life, I shake my head. We saved each other, his gaze lingers. Then slowly, he lowers his gun and steps closer. You shouldn't have had to see this. I did. And you're not running? Not from you. For the first time, he looks unarmed in every sense. The armor drops. His hands tremble slightly as he reaches for me. I don't know how to be soft, he admits, but I'll try for you. You already are, I whisper. He presses his forehead against mine again. But this time, when his mouth finds mine, there's no hesitation, just heat, exhaustion, and relief. The kiss is raw, desperate, grounding, the kind that feels like coming home after a lifetime of chaos. When we break apart, dawn bleeds through the smoke. 2 days later, the city is quieter. The De Rossi family scattered, the traitors dealt with. Dominic's men keep their distance when I pass. Everyone knows now. She's his. He sits on the balcony again, arm bandaged, watching the skyline. I join him. They'll come again, I say. He nods. They always do. But this time I'll be ready. He looks at me then, that sharp, assessing stare softening at the edges. You still want to go back to your old life? I thought I did, but that world doesn't fit anymore. He studies me for a long moment. Then stay. Not because you owe me. Because you want to. I do. His hand slides over mine, rough, careful. Then you're not my prisoner anymore. I smile faintly. What am I then? His mouth curves. Mine. The word shouldn't sound beautiful, but it does. He pulls me close until I'm in his lap, his arms circling my waist. The city glows beneath us, gold and silent, like it's holding its breath. Lila Mercer, he murmurs against my hair. You paid your father's debt 100 times over. You just don't know it. I tilt my head back. Then what do I owe now? Nothing, he says. Except forever. I kiss him once. Slow, certain. For the first time in years, I feel safe. Not because I'm hidden, but because I'm seen. Dominic Valenti's world will always be dangerous, but now it's ours, and for better or worse, I've chosen it. I wasn't supposed to be there. Not in that part of the city, not in that restaurant, and definitely not in that bathroom. But life doesn't ask for permission before humiliating you. It just does it, quietly, like it's doing you a favor. That night, I was running on fumes. I'd just finished cleaning rooms at the motel, my back aching, hands raw from cheap detergent. My manager had yelled again because a guest found a hair in the sink. I hadn't eaten all day and my head was pounding. I told myself I'd stop at any restaurant I could find, wash my face, maybe feel human again for 5 minutes before catching the last bus home. So when I saw Marcelino's, all gold letters and glass doors, I didn't think. I just walked in. The kind of place where waiters wear suits and water costs more than my groceries. I tried to look like I belonged. Head high, fake confidence. But I could feel the stares. My only goal was to find the bathroom. The hallway was lined with mirrors, the kind that remind you exactly how tired you look. I picked the first door on the left and pushed it open, whispering to myself, in and out. Don't make eye contact. But instead of the tiled walls and soft jazz of a women's restroom, I heard low voices. Serious ones, the kind that stop when you enter a room. My eyes adjusted and I froze. 3 men sat at a small round table. Cigars burning, whiskey glasses half full, papers spread out. Guns on the table, polished, real, impossible to ignore. The air felt thick, heavy, like smoke and tension had taken form. The man in the middle looked up first. He wasn't like the others. Calm where they were restless. Still, focused. A charcoal suit, dark tie, no jewelry, no expression. Just eyes. Gray, unreadable, dangerous in the quietest way. "Who the hell are you?" One of the other men barked, half standing. I couldn't move. My mouth opened, but words wouldn't come out. I felt the heat of their stares burning into me. Then the man in the middle, him, raised a hand slightly. The room obeyed him like gravity itself had shifted. The man who'd spoken sat back down immediately. He leaned back, eyes on me. "You lost?" I nodded. Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought this was the ladies' room." My voice cracked on the last word. He didn't smile, didn't blink, just looked at me long enough for my skin to prickle. Then he said, low and calm, "Then you'd better find your way out." I stumbled back, mumbling apologies. My hand hit the doorknob and I nearly ran out. My pulse was a drumbeat in my ears. I didn't stop moving until I was outside, breathing cold air, my heart hammering like it was trying to break free. I told myself to forget it. Pretend it didn't happen. But that night, when I closed my eyes, I saw him. Not his face exactly, his stillness. The kind that makes you want to fill the silence, even when you shouldn't. The kind that stays with you. 2 days later, I saw the car. A black sedan, too sleek for my rundown street, parked across from my building. I tried to ignore it, told myself it was nothing. But the next morning it was still there, and the morning after that. When I stepped outside for work on the third day, a man in a suit was waiting. "Clean-cut, expressionless, Miss Rivera?" My throat went dry. "Yes?" "Mr. DeLuca would like to speak with you." I froze. "Who?" He didn't answer, just opened the car door. Please, I should have run. But fear does strange things. It convinces you that obedience is safety. So I got in. The door shut, sealing me inside with silence and leather and tension. He was there. The man from the restaurant. He didn't look at me right away. Just scrolled through his phone, thumb steady, face calm. The driver started the engine. I could hear my own breathing, uneven and loud. Finally, he said, "You walked into my meeting." I swallowed hard. "It was a mistake, I swear. I didn't see anything." He glanced at me then, sharp, assessing. "You saw me. That's enough." I shook my head fast. "No, I didn't. I mean, I won't tell anyone." He leaned forward slightly, elbows on his knees, voice quiet. "You think I'm worried about gossip?" I didn't answer. I didn't know what he wanted. He studied me a moment longer, then said, "You work at the Sunset Motel, room service and cleaning." I blinked. "How do you—" "I know everything about the people who walk into my world," he said. Even by accident, I felt small, exposed. My voice barely came out. "What are you going to do to me?" His eyes softened, but his tone didn't. "That depends on you." Silence, the kind that stretches, heavy and dangerous. "I didn't mean to walk in," I whispered again. He nodded slowly. "I believe you." Relief flooded me, too fast, too soon. Because then he added, "But belief isn't safety." I stared at him, heartbeat pounding. "Please, I won't say anything. I don't even know what I saw." "That's what worries me," he said. "People panic when they don't understand. They make mistakes. I won't." He studied me again, and something in his expression shifted. He wasn't looking at me like a threat anymore, more like a puzzle he couldn't decide how to solve. "What's your name?" "Luna. Luna," he repeated like he was tasting it. "Pretty name. Doesn't fit the mess you found yourself in." I bit my lip. "Are you going to let me go?" He leaned back. "Eventually? Eventually?" He looked out the window, voice almost thoughtful. "Until then, I need to make sure you don't become a problem." My throat tightened. "I'm not a problem." He smiled faintly. "We'll see." The car stopped. I looked out and realized we weren't near my neighborhood anymore. The houses here were bigger, older, gates and guards. He opened his door, then mine. "Get out," I hesitated. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. The weight of his presence was enough. I stepped out. We walked up a stone path toward a mansion that looked more like a fortress. My legs felt weak, but I kept moving. Inside, the air was cool, quiet. Not rich in gold like I expected, more steel and marble, clean, controlled. He turned to me. "You'll stay here tonight." I stared at him. "Stay here? Why?" "Because I said so." "I can't." "You can," he interrupted, voice low but firm. "And you will." I felt anger pushing through the fear. "You can't just keep me here." I didn't do anything. His gaze met mine, steady, unreadable. "You walked into something you shouldn't have. That makes you mine to deal with." The word mine hit something deep, confusing, wrong. I hated the way it made my pulse jump. He saw it. Of course he saw it. His voice softened, but not kindly. "You look scared." "I am." "Good. Fear keeps people alive." He turned and started up the stairs, then looked back at me. "Don't try to leave tonight. You won't like the consequences." He disappeared down the hall, leaving me alone with my racing thoughts. I wanted to scream, to run, to disappear, but my legs wouldn't move. Something in his voice, cold but controlled, made me believe he wasn't bluffing. So I stayed. That night, I sat by the window, staring out at the city lights, wondering what kind of life he lived. Wondering how a man like that could exist, someone who spoke softly and still made the world bend around him. I hated him. I feared him. But somewhere in the quiet, I felt something else, a pull I couldn't explain. Maybe it was the way he said my name. Maybe it was how calm he stayed when everything in me was falling apart. Either way, I knew this wasn't over. Just before dawn, I heard footsteps outside my door. The handle turned. I froze, holding my breath. The door opened halfway, and his silhouette appeared against the hall light. "I don't sleep well," he said quietly. "Neither do you." Then he closed the door again, leaving me with one thought that scared me more than anything. I wasn't sure I wanted him to stay away. It's strange how quickly fear becomes familiarity. The first few nights I couldn't sleep. I'd wake at every sound, every creak of the floorboards, expecting him outside the door again. But after a week, the silence of that mansion stopped feeling dangerous. It started to feel watchful. He never locked me in. That's what made it worse. I could walk the halls, sit by the window, eat at the long dining table alone. The freedom was an illusion, and I knew it. I didn't leave because some part of me didn't dare test how far his reach went. His people called him Mr. DeLuca in tones that carried both respect and fear. I didn't call him anything. I barely spoke to him at first. But he always appeared somehow, when I least expected him. In the kitchen late at night. On the balcony when I thought I was alone. One night, I found him in the study, sitting behind a desk scattered with papers and half-empty glasses. I should have walked away. Instead, I knocked on the doorframe. He looked up slowly. "Couldn't sleep again?" I shook my head. "No." He gestured toward the chair across from him. "Then sit." No point pretending. His voice wasn't cruel. It was calm, unnervingly calm. I sat, folding my hands to stop them from shaking. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then I said, "You're not keeping me here because of what I saw. You could have let me go a long time ago." He studied me, like he was deciding how much truth I deserved. "Maybe I wanted to see what you'd do." That's not an answer. It's the only one I have right now. I leaned forward, frustration spilling through the fear. You don't get to play games with people's lives. That earned me a small, tired smile. "You think this is a game?" "I think you like control," he laughed once, quiet but sharp. "Control is survival, Luna." I hated that he used my name like that. Soft, deliberate, as if it belonged to him. "And what about me?" I asked. "Am I surviving too, or just waiting?" He didn't answer. That silence said everything. Days blurred after that. I found small ways to exist. Reading books from the library, cleaning things that didn't need cleaning, pretending I wasn't waiting for him to appear. Because every time he did, something in me tightened and loosened all at once. He noticed everything. The way I flinched at sudden sounds, the way I hesitated to sit too close, the way I watched the door, always calculating escape routes. "You've lived in fear for a long time," he said one evening, voice low, eyes fixed on the fire. I looked at him. You make that sound like a fact. It is. I turned away. You don't know me? He smiled slightly. No, but I read people for a living. You move like someone who's been hit before. My throat closed. I didn't want him to see that he was right. He went on quieter. Whoever hurt you, they don't get to own what's left. I stood up fast, too exposed. Don't talk like you care. He didn't rise to meet my anger. He just looked at me with that same unreadable calm. You wouldn't be here if I didn't. I wanted to leave, but my body didn't move. Instead, I whispered, I don't understand you. You don't have to, he said. You just have to stop running. He said it like a command, not comfort. Still, something broke in me. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about what he'd said. How he'd said it. Like he saw all the parts of me I'd buried. Like he knew exactly how to pull them to the surface. Days turned into weeks, and something between us shifted. The fear didn't disappear. It changed shape. Turned into something softer, heavier. I started noticing small things. The way his voice dropped when he said my name. The faint scar near his collarbone. The exhaustion in his eyes when he thought no one was watching. One morning, I found him alone in the courtyard, talking quietly on the phone. His tone was different, angry, cold. When he hung up, I asked before I could stop myself, What happened? He didn't answer right away. You ask too many questions. Maybe that's because no one gives me answers. He looked at me then, and for once, the mask slipped. Someone betrayed me? How? He hesitated. They took something that wasn't theirs. Money? Trust. That word lingered between us, heavier than anything else. Later that night, I overheard two of his men talking. Something about a shipment. Someone leaking information. A traitor who wouldn't live to see sunrise. I couldn't sleep again. The walls felt tighter. His world was bleeding into mine, and I wasn't sure where the line was anymore. The next evening I confronted him. You said I was safe here. You are. There are men outside threatening to kill someone. He looked at me, unflinching. That's business, Luna. Business? I stepped closer, anger rising. You're talking about people's lives, he sighed, standing. You don't understand how this works. Then make me understand. He walked toward me slowly, every step deliberate. When he stopped, he was close enough for me to feel the heat of him. In this life, loyalty is the only currency that matters, and when someone betrays it, they pay. I shook my head. You talk like that makes it okay. It's not about okay. It's about order. That's not order. It's fear. He smiled faintly. Sometimes they're the same thing. My chest felt tight. And what about me? What am I to you? He didn't blink. You're the only person here who doesn't owe me anything. That truth was more dangerous than any lie. Later that night, I found him sitting in the dark, his hand pressed to his forehead, tension carved into his jaw. I almost walked away, but he looked up, and that small act caught me like a hook. You should sleep, he said softly. So should you. He exhaled, eyes fixed on the floor. Sleep doesn't come easy when you've built your life on things that can crumble overnight. Something in me cracked. I stepped closer, touched his arm before I could think. He froze, then looked at me with something raw in his eyes. Don't, he whispered. Why? Because you'll regret it. But I didn't move. Neither did he. For a long moment, we just breathed the same air, caught between fear and something that felt dangerously like need. Then the door burst open. One of his men rushed in, pale and shaking. Boss, it's done. The traitor's gone. I stepped back fast. He didn't move, didn't look at me, just nodded once. Good. Clean it up. When the man left, I could still hear the echo of those words. The traitor's gone. I stared at him. You killed him. He met my eyes. I had to. No, you chose to. He stood slowly, calm as ever. You don't survive in this world by forgiving people who want you dead. Tears burned behind my eyes. Then maybe you shouldn't survive in it. He looked at me for a long time, then said quietly, Maybe I don't want to. That silence between us hurt worse than anything he'd ever said. I turned away, trying to breathe. He spoke again, voice low. I told you not to get close. I didn't look back. Too late. That night, I packed my things. I had no plan, no destination. Just a need to leave before he pulled me any deeper into a world that would swallow me whole. When I stepped outside, the air was cold and sharp. I'd barely made it to the end of the driveway when I saw the headlights. His car. He stepped out, coat unbuttoned, tie loose. "You really think I'd let you walk away?" I faced him, hands shaking. "You don't own me." He took a slow step forward. "No. But I'm the reason you're still breathing. I didn't ask you to save me. I didn't ask you to matter," he said. The words hit like a blow. "But you do." For a second, neither of us moved. Then his phone rang. He glanced at it, his expression hardening. "Go home, Luna," he said. "Forget you ever met me." He turned, answering the call as he walked away. His voice was sharp, urgent. I caught fragments. "They know where she is. It's too late." He looked back at me once, eyes dark. "If you stay, you die." Then he was gone, disappearing into the night like a shadow that had finally realized its own shape. I stood there in the cold, clutching my bag, knowing nothing would ever be the same again. The smell of smoke lingered in my hair for weeks after. Even though I hadn't gone near the mansion that night, I could feel the fire in my chest every time I closed my eyes. It was on the news. Electrical fault, they said. No confirmed deaths. But I knew better. I knew what no confirmed deaths meant in his world. It meant silence. It meant vanishing. I told myself he was dead. It was easier than the alternative. Easier than imagining him out there somewhere, watching from a distance, still deciding if I was a threat or a memory. I moved to a smaller city, changed my number, and found a job at a diner. The kind that always smelled like coffee and rain. The owner, Maria, didn't ask questions. She just handed me an apron and said, "You look like you need a place to start over." I worked long hours, kept my head down, tried to pretend I didn't jump whenever a black car drove by. Nights were harder. I'd lie awake and hear his voice in my head, low, calm, saying my name like a warning and a promise. But time has a way of dulling even the sharpest edges. After a few months, I stopped looking over my shoulder. I started saving money. I even laughed again. Real laughter, not the brittle kind that breaks halfway through. Still, sometimes I'd dream of him. In those dreams, he wasn't the man who burned down a mansion. He was just a voice in the dark, whispering, "You were the only thing that made it bearable." One night, during a storm, a customer left an envelope on the counter. No name, just my initials written in sharp, slanted handwriting. My hands shook when I opened it. Inside was a note, "Keep your head down. Don't look for me. I made sure they'll never find you." Eli dropped it like it burned. For a long time, I just stared at it on the counter, the ink smudging under my wet fingers. Relief, anger, confusion. They all crashed together until I couldn't tell which one hurt more. He was alive, and he was still protecting me. That night, I walked home in the rain without an umbrella. I let it soak through my clothes, through my skin, until it felt like the city was washing me clean. I thought about going to the police, about running again, about pretending none of this ever happened. But deep down I knew I wouldn't. You don't run from ghosts. You learn to live beside them. Months passed. Seasons changed. The world kept moving and I kept working. The ache never really left. It just settled, quieter. Like a scar you stop noticing until someone touches it. Then one morning, I heard the doorbell at the diner. The sound hit me like a memory. I turned, towel in hand, and for a second my breath caught. It wasn't him. Just a man in a gray suit holding a briefcase. I almost laughed at myself for expecting otherwise. He ordered coffee, black, no sugar. Then he handed me a small envelope when he paid. "This is for you," he said. I froze. "From who?" He didn't answer, just nodded once and walked out. Inside the envelope was a single Polaroid. It showed a garden, overgrown, quiet, familiar, and behind it the faint outline of a marble headstone. My name wasn't on it, his was. Lorenzo De Luca. Below it, carved into stone, were the words, "For what was lost and for what was loved." My knees went weak. I sat down on the floor, holding the photo like it was a piece of glass. It didn't feel real. It didn't look real, but something in me knew it was. He'd left this world the way he lived in it, silently, on his own terms, making sure everyone else was safe before he burned with his sins. I didn't cry. Not at first, but that night, when I was alone in my tiny apartment, I opened the window and let the cold wind fill the room. The city lights looked like scattered stars, and for a moment, I imagined he was out there somewhere, watching, waiting, keeping that strange, unspoken promise we'd made the night everything fell apart. I whispered into the dark. "You were wrong, Lorenzo." I did regret it, every second, because I didn't get to say goodbye. The wind didn't answer, but something shifted inside me. The ache stopped feeling like punishment. It started feeling like proof. Proof that I'd been part of something real, even if it had been born in danger and ended in ash. Years passed. Life became quieter. I moved again, this time to the coast, bought a small apartment above a bookstore, learned to love mornings again. Some nights I'd sit by the window and talk to him like he could still hear me. I'd tell him about the sea, about how I'd stopped flinching at thunder, about how I'd started to believe that survival didn't mean forgetting. Once, I met someone new. Kind eyes, steady hands. He didn't ask about my past, and I didn't volunteer it. But every time he smiled at me, I thought about how love could exist without fear, without power, without promises built on blood. It took me a long time to accept that healing doesn't erase the story. It just changes the way you carry it. I visited his grave one autumn evening. The air smelled like rain and old roses. The garden from the photo was real, overgrown but peaceful. His name was there, just like I'd seen it. I placed a white lily by the stone and whispered, "You finally stopped running." A voice behind me said, "He left everything to you, you know." I turned. It was the man in the gray suit. Older now, eyes tired. "What? The house, the land, even the restaurant. All under your name. He said you'd understand. I didn't. Not then. But when I walked through that house again, dusty, quiet, full of ghosts, I realized what he'd meant. He hadn't left me things. He'd left me closure. Proof that I'd survived him, and that he'd trusted me enough to hold the memory without letting it destroy me. I stayed there that night. The walls were different now, less menacing, more hollow. I sat by the fireplace where he used to read, closed my eyes, and heard his voice again. "You move like someone who's been hit before." And then my own answer, softer now, not anymore. For the first time, I let the silence sit without fear. He was gone, but he hadn't taken me with him. He'd given me back something I didn't know I'd lost, myself. When I returned to the coast, I didn't tell anyone where I'd been. I didn't need to. Some stories don't belong in the light. They belong in whispers, in memory, in the quiet moments when the world finally stops spinning long enough to breathe. Now, years later, when I tell this story, I do it softly. Not out of shame, but reverence, because it's the story that broke me open and rebuilt me piece by piece. People ask if I loved him. I always say yes, but not the way most people mean it. I loved him like a mirror, because through him, I saw everything I was afraid to be, and when he left, he took the darkness with him. Sometimes, late at night, I still dream of the restaurant where it all began. I see the reflection in the mirror, the terrified girl who walked into the wrong room and met a man who would change everything. If I could talk to her now, I'd tell her not to run. Not because the story ends well, but because it ends true, and in its own way, that's enough. Because despite the fire, the fear, and the ruin, I'm still here, breathing, whole, and somehow, after everything, we found our way home.